All right, I got 9 o'clock. We'll call this March 11th, or March 1st, 2016 Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Would everybody please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, everybody. Josh, do we have anything to add to the agenda?
Nothing new or any changes for the agenda.
All right, thank you.
I'll move the agenda review.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. Commissioner Campbell, we'll start with you today.
Okay. What time do we have now? I'm just trying to check with my watch.
We got till 9:20 to get all of us. We should be tired of talking about it stuff because we've been
You
busy
should
the
be
last
tired by
couple weeks.
9:20.
Okay, no.
You can have my time, because I don't have much.
Well, our last board meeting was Tuesday, February 16th. Also had a short meeting that day with Bob and Jesse and Vance because we were planning our strategy for going to the NACO conference out in Washington, D.C. that week. So on February 20th, Saturday, arrived in D.C. and that evening we had a reception with one of the lobbyists for AMC at Dennis McGran's home. He's always been very gracious and has the whole Minnesota delegation that comes out there. He invites them to his home, and his house is about 2 blocks or 3 blocks from right on Capitol Hill. So that's a nice welcoming to D.C. I'll just give a couple of highlights because there's so much information, and also Vance would probably want to say a few things about what at least 1 or 2 items from the conference. We were there and it's about a 4-day conference really altogether. Right off at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, on the 21st, I attended a morning roundtable, and it was called The Economic Impact of Aging on Counties. And when they're talking aging, they're not talking infrastructure. They're talking about human beings. And it was sponsored by Aetna, is that how you say that? Aetna. The Executive Director of the National Association for Area Agencies on Aging, Sandy, I don't know if I can say her name, Markwood. She spoke first about how the entire population is aging. Just as we know, we hear a lot about baby boomers. Still, all people are aging. All the different ages are getting older. And so as a nation, we're getting older. And so we need to think more broadly about aging in our country. The average retiree income for women in this country is $16,000 a year. And for men, it's $30,000. So there's quite a large disparity for retirement income. Both mental health and physical health are impacted greatly by economic conditions. At any one time, only 3 to 4% of the aging or the elderly are living in a nursing facility. So most elderly live in our communities and they rely on others to help when needed. How can we as counties and cities help the elderly live and stay in their communities? And so that was a question that was posed to it was a large room. There's probably, I'm going to say 120, 30 people there. It was
Quite a few people there.
Yeah. Number 1 she listed as transportation issues. That having access to services, transportation impacts the elderly. Number 2 is home-based services, so they can get some help where they are, in place. And then housing. What sort of alternatives do we have? What do we offer in our community for housing alternatives? 85% of all older adults rely on Social Security for their living. It is their main consistent source of income. Speaker number 2 was Dr. Arno. He's a senior fellow and director of health policy research of the let's see here, Retirement Research Foundation at the University of Massachusetts. And he stated that we are in denial of many of our aging issues. He presented on economic and social impacts, and I've never heard anybody speak on this before, and it really surprised me because I was concerned about our Social Security system. He says, economic and social impacts of Social Security benefits. He specifically spoke on that. and its importance that has grown more and more each year. 45% of all households in America have no retirement savings. Just imagine that. I mean, that's almost half of the country. 31% men and 35% women are kept out of poverty due to having Social Security benefits. One of our primary jobs as a county is to provide services for people in poverty. So these Social Security benefits are of prime importance of keeping people from Social Security. The total number of dollars that was given out in last year for Social Security was $870 billion to 59 million Americans last year. The average monthly benefit for Social Security is $1,300 a month. And it's about $16,000 annually. 70 million people get some kind of Social Security benefit, because that includes our disabled and survivors benefits. This $870 billion mostly all gets spent in those respective communities, which have an enormous impact economically on those communities. There's an economic impact and multiplier effect. In Minnesota, it's basically about a doubling effect. So the benefits to our economy are enormous. This is so huge that it is about 20%, I think he quoted 18 point something percent, or 1/5 of our country's gross national product. Just think about that. Social Security benefits, in one way or another, is keeping this country going. So we're totally dependent on Social Security payments to keep things going for this cohort. And then there was a Dr. Joe Augustini. I will just sum it up real quick. This is just the first opening session. He's the director of Aetna Medicine and Geriatric Medicine. He focused on quality of life, wellness, that preventative measures have huge paybacks. So that's something we can do in our county, to think about prevention. How do we develop our cities and our counties for the elderly so that they can stay well? Access to services, like what was reported in the paper and Vance was quoted. We're working on transit services, which will help the elderly and will have a huge impact on our counties. So I won't go to anything else that we did there. There was just so many things that we did at that conference that we had meetings all the way along, and then of course we ended up on Capitol Hill. Wonderful speakers. I mean, Senator John McCain spoke, Secretary of Transportation Anthony Foxx spoke, Senator Mitch McConnell spoke. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. There was just so many people that came there, including I met with Secretary Tom Vilsack just for a moment, just to meet him, because he's a great speaker and wonderful man, and workshops on leadership, a real focus on poverty, and a focus on how to address chemical abuse and dependency in our country, and mental health issues was really stressed throughout the whole conference. So, got back on Thursday myself, so in advance, and of course we went to the Tri-County Transit meeting yesterday in St. Peter, which was in the paper today. Stopped by the Reach locally here. They're celebrating their 5th year, working out of down there at Bethlehem Lutheran Church building, and they're helping out a lot of our youth that are at risk in this community. So that ends my report. I hope I didn't take too much time.
Oh, good. I'm glad you got down to Victor.
Yep.
Thank you.
So,
Commissioner Purvis?
as I promised, mine will be short. Paul
Tell us
and
about your vacation.
Paul and I took some personal time, so after the last board meeting, we had the ditch advisory meeting, got together and did some planning for the year. And then, of course, this morning before the board meeting, we had the new employees group there. That's my report.
All right, thanks, Will. Commissioner People?
Well, after our board meeting on the 16th, Kip and I went to our RCEF entrepreneurial facilitation meeting, and that's when we learned that Mike Nolan was leaving or had left the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center at MSU, and went up to the cities to be with Health Group. I can't remember, is it Health? I knew it was
I don't
Health.
remember what it was.
United Health. Yeah, United Health, he was working with them, with entrepreneurs or some kind of deal there. I wish him well. Then we had that meeting with Kip and Will with their staff on county ditches, and that went well. Then we had, then I had that evening, I had Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. Actually, we hosted it here at the courthouse on the 3rd floor. They're kind of looking for a more of a permanent place, but that's just to start. We probably won't have it as a permanent place here, but then Vance joined me on Saturday for the Pedal Past Poverty, and I want to thank everybody that contributed to both of us, and that was really well. Very successful. I think it's the most successful year I think we've had. It was over 103,000, and there are matching monies that
that's
haven't
awesome.
come in yet, so it could be 5-6 weeks before we realize what kind of total we have.
That's a good turnout.
Yeah, there wasn't as many teams, but the teams that were, I think, obviously raised more money. Plus our donor, the corporations and stuff.
So
gave
did
a
I
lot
beat
more.
you out this year?
No, but you did a good job, Vance. It's gonna be
You
hard to
probably
beat
wrote a
the.
bigger check than
It's
I
gonna
did,
be
that's
no. I know all.
You do have a lot of connections.
Yeah, but I
I thought
know.
he was on your team, though.
We are.
Yes,
we
but
are.
each person has to raise.
Oh,
so much. Each
well, I
person's
gave my
supposed-
money to you, Vance, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, well,
God
thanks,
bless you.
that's
You
okay.
did a good job.
Oh, you didn't have to give them to both? I gave you to both.
Yeah. Oh, that- I didn't know that.
Hey, you guys did a
You
good
guys are
job.
something else, I'm telling you, that's all I know.
What was the total you guys had on that, the pedal for property?
About 103,000, but it'll go up.
102,000.
103, yeah.
Do you know a total number of miles?
Oh, no, I don't know that. I don't know. I guess you could figure that out.
They asked me how many miles I went. I said, I don't know, 30 or 40, but
Vance was really prepared
Pretty
to
good, pretty good.
ride.
yeah, I had my blue jeans.
Jeans
on.
and his shoes or whatever, and
My
your
hat.
Okay, then this is going really.
Dress for the open road, huh?
Yeah.
We got a
And then
short
just
meeting today.
yep, Monday, of course, this last Monday we had their joint transit, like has been talked about, and then the Vine panel
Mhm.
presentation. So
This morning.
that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. Stuenberg.
Well, after our meeting, like Drew said, we had a NACO ledge trip meeting here to discuss all our things that we had there, that we were going to do at the NACO ledge. On the 17th, I had a Greater Mankato Growth Business Before Hours at MVAC, which was amazing. I love the tours they gave. They did a good job.
Mhm.
That was, I think that's a really impressive, if you look at that organization from what it was even 10 years ago, it's amazing what that organization does to the people,
Mhm.
for the people here in Blue Earth County and Nicollet County in the area. Then on the 18th, Kip and I had an intergovernmental meeting with the city of Mankato. And right after that meeting, I had a Traverse de Sioux board meeting directly afterward. On the 19th, I flew out to Washington DC because I started right away Saturday morning. I had transportation steering committees starting right away at 8 o'clock Saturday morning. We had a resolution regarding local control of federal allocations, had a resolution regarding automated transit networks. I was blessed this last year being placed as chair of the airport subcommittee for the transportation, so I led a question and answer on drones and the issues they represent. That really gained a lot of attention, the whole room, and we have the transportation subcommittee or committee is the largest of the whole group, and we we could have went on for 3 hours. We had 3 experts there, and we could have went on for 3 hours. And we're working on the NACO annual to have a drone exhibition to try to see if we can, get some U.S. drone, companies that come out and build them and put on some sort of an exhibition for us. We had a deep discussion on the FAA reauthorization and the issue of privatization of the air traffic control, which really is a big issue for smaller airports such as ours here in Mankato. Whether the cost factor and all the issues that surround it. We had a very interesting talk on autonomous cars. There was a engineer from Wisconsin that gave the talk, and he basically said, don't believe it's in the future because it's already happening right now, and we need to sit down and get our rules and regulations set up to what happens, because the cars are here. We need to figure out what's going to happen. That was one of the things I was going to bring up yesterday, because if people can't get on transit, they're going to get into a car and do the same darn thing. We're just going to push a button and say, where do you want to go? Mm-hmm. And it's going to be like the Jetsons, but on the road, I went through all 4 subcommittees, which is roads, rail, airports, and ports. Then that evening I went to Dennis McGran's, who's a lobbyist for AMC. The next morning I started with the round table on the economic impact on aging, just like Drew did. Don't need to get any more than that. You did a good job explaining that. Thank one, you. Drew. I had to leave and go to my Transportation Steering Committee meetings. That lasted for me the rest of the morning. I stopped at the National Association of County Information Officers Roundtable. It was a discussion. Probably the main reason I stopped there is because our own Jesse Beyer is president of that organization. Oh, mm-hmm. And but they had a very interesting discussion. And then that afternoon we had our Minnesota caucus. On February 22nd, we started right out with the Central Region Caucus with Cindy Bobbitt. And then we had our opening general sessions, which is a presentation from Chris Wallace, who is a host from Fox News. He was amazing.
I know, he was.
We had a talk from the Honorable Michael Bonicelli, who is director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy. Really gave a chilling event of what's happening with the drug scene and what's in the United States. And every time I hear stuff like that, I bless our folks in uniform in the county attorney's office, because those are the folks that are having to work directly with this kind of stuff. And then we had a talk from a Dr. France Cordova, who is the director of the National Science Foundation, and she gave a real good speech. I then went to a Rural Action Caucus business meeting. I attended the luncheon and we had entertainment from a group called the Capitol Steps.
Oh, yeah, they were something else.
If anybody wants to find out about the Capitol Steps, go to YouTube and type it in. These folks are amazing, and they make fun of everybody. They're nonpartisan, because it doesn't matter who they are. They really did a good job. After that, I had a session on keeping counties moving, understanding the role of freight, and how it explores how freight transportation, including maritime and inland ports, rail, and multimodal facilities and infrastructure is used to fuel the economic growth. And I went to a session on the Stepping Up Initiative to reduce mental illness in jails, which is what we are involved with right here in Blue Earth County. Mm-hmm. On February 23rd, we had our general session, which Mitch McConnell, U.S. Senate Majority Leader, Ron Bonstein, who political director of the Atlantic Media Company, the Honorable Tom Vilsack, who is the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Honorable John King, Acting Secretary of the U.S. Department of Education, and the Honorable John McCain, U.S. Senator. We had a Rural Council Poverty Summit after that, and that afternoon, Drew and I and Jesse went and met in Franken's office, met with his staff, and met with Senator Amy Klobuchar and Congressman Tim Walz, and spoke with them about our issues here in Blue Earth County. I had a meeting directly after that. I had a meeting with my vice chairs from the airport subcommittee to discuss the oncoming action on the FAA reauthorization. We've got some stuff that's coming right away, and we have to do some emergency stuff. And then we had the NACO President's Reception that evening. The next morning, I believe Drew went to the Minnesota breakfast.
Yeah, it's a delegation, and we had quite a few people show up for that. It's all the U.S. Legislators that we have in the state of Minnesota. Most of them all show up, and so.
There's 10, so all 10.
Well, there was 7, I believe, 7 that showed up, and they always have give us a lowdown of what they see happening. Actually, still a lot of focus was on poverty and housing issues, the drugs and the issues that are facing America.
Right.
Also talked about the budget, the new budget coming up now was approved in December, and how to fund. But I don't want to take any more of your time there, Van, sorry.
Right. And while he was there, I was invited to a Rural Action Caucus roundtable at the White House. And we had Esther Lynn, U.S. Department of Agriculture, talked, Timothy Green, Director of Strategic Outreach for the Department of Labor, Jacob Uberluf, who is a Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Director of the White House National Economic Council, and then Shannon Kelly, who is Deputy Director for the National HIDTA, H-I-D-T-A program, White House Office of National Drug Control Policy. Again, we were talking about the opiate issues that we have here in the United States, and the big issues that we have with the poor and the needy, what's going on. I flew home on the 25th, and just as I got home, I had a call in for the Highway 169 Corridor Coalition to talk about our legislative event coming up the end of this month. On the 27th, I attended a town hall meeting with Senator Sharon, Representatives Considine and Johnson down at the City Hall. And I rode stationary bike for Pedal Past Poverty with my hero and mentor, Mark People.
I was going to say, you are name dropping a lot through all this, so now.
And that was the biggest name drop.
Yeah,
you're
Mark
not.
People.
On the 28th, I did the pasta at the pub, which was a benefit for benches. And then, of course, yesterday we had our Tri-County Transit meeting, which everybody but Will was there, and Will was on the road, probably wishes he could have been there.
I'd rather been at the transit meeting.
Yeah. And then last night we did our education series with Vine and spoke with folks from Vine. So
And then we had new employees this morning. I forgot about that.
yes,
Oh,
we had our new
yeah.
employees,
Yeah.
which
Will
our
mentioned it.
intern is one of them, and
Oh, you
she's
did,
sitting
okay.
right out here. But that's
Yeah.
it, Kip. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank
Quick
you,
question,
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
15.
Okay, I'm
15
trying.
seconds. I wanted to get this out, I forgot, I didn't put it in my notes. Belonging to NACO, National Association of Counties, you can put in, a policy resolution for their platform. And I was concerned about Social Security not getting a COLA across the whole nation. I turned in a resolution. I attended the Health Steering and the Health and Human Service Steering Committees, and that was voted on, and it was approved to go forward to the annual conference. And so what it is it's for repealing, it's asking and repealing the current formula, which includes gasoline costs, which is one of the reasons why no COLA was given to people who receive Social Security benefits in America. And I feel it's improper and wrong. And then when I went to this talk to find out how important Social Security benefits are, it really reinforced, you know, that I was so happy that that policy was received by NACO.
Good job.
Good, thank you. My report is relatively long, but most of the meetings were already mentioned, so I'm gonna go through this quickly. RCEF was mentioned, ditch advisory, MVAC before hours, just have to add that that was a great turnout, and a lot of people turned up for that. Had InterGov, the one thing that wasn't mentioned that nobody else was at is at the water summit over the weekend with the governor. About 800 people talking about water issues. I thought the program went really well. The two breakout sessions I hit was ensuring Minnesota is resilient in extreme weather and sustaining our water supply. And they were both very good programs and got a lot of feedback, and it was what the governor was looking for, is feedback from the people that were there on what policies to put in place. So it was a little different format than I had expected, but was very interested, and there was a lot of good comments. Transit meeting was already mentioned, the Vine program, and then the other thing that nobody was at last night was the water plan task force. Julie Conrad had met with, well, there was about a dozen of us from around the county that were there last night to talk about our water plan. So that brings me up to today. Government center window bids. Josh, I think you're dealing with that, or?
Let's see, I thought Tim was going to.
Do you want to put that off till later?
Let's put that off. I think
Okay.
he'll be coming if we want to go to the next agenda.
We'll go on
item.
to
Okay.
County Ditch 34 multi-year special drainage levy. Craig?
Welcome, Craig.
Morning, Craig.
Craig?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Something real simple. Back in November, when we set assessments, we had one that we were pretty sure was going to be wrong, and we had a little asterisk saying that we'd come back, and once we knew the proper numbers, we'd come back and get it formally approved, and that's what we're doing today. So our action requested is, based on the terms of the sale and the bond, we're requesting the board revise the levy as shown. County Ditch 34 improvement, total assessment $2,026,500 for an installment, a yearly installment of $135,100 per year over 15 years.
Is that an increase of what it was, the estimate?
Yeah, that estimate is higher than the estimate, but we pretty knew the estimate when we presented was probably going to be wrong, so.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept this?
Move to approve.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks a lot.
9:27, we got a couple more minutes before Pat comes on, so let's go up and do a couple administrative services.
I'll approve the minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes yet.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, first item we could approve is the county board minutes for February 16th.
Move the minutes.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's pay the bills.
Mr. Chair, the bills for weeks of February 11th through 17th and February 18th through 24th.
I'll move the bills. Second.
Got a first and a second. Discussion?
I've only got about 20 of them I want to
Just
check on
20 for
here.
Josh?
No. Bob's not here today, so I just was giving Josh a hard time, but.
All right. Did you have a couple
I don't have any
questions for him?
questions, no.
None for
I
him?
went through them all last night.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
There was-
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's do human resources.
All right, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, lengthy informational lists on the HR agenda. Just to summarize, if you look at that list, there was 6 new positions hired on that list, 2 lateral transfers, 1 internal promotion. That in turn led to 3 new recruitments that'll be done. And then also there are 2 individuals that are completing their probationary status as well.
All right.
Any questions or comments on the personnel? Got to meet several of these people this morning.
We did,
That was
yeah.
nice.
Yep.
All right, if there's nothing else on that, we'll move down to Pat, County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Just briefly, the information which was provided to you in the packet is through the first 49 days of the year. So it's kind of tough at that juncture to get a true running average of what we have
Yep.
going, but I just did want to note a couple of different things. The drug cases, again, seem to be steady and the most prevalent of which we have. And just because this is the beginning of the year, the juvenile filings with respect to the truancies, you will see that it appears that the truancies would be way up. Well, after April 15th, we typically don't file any truancies after that. And there would be no truancies filed throughout the summer, and typically our first truancy isn't filed until maybe October or November. So with those numbers in that respect, I don't know if you have any questions, concerns, or comments. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, just like any statistics, Pat, I was just wondering, when you look at the actual cases charged as of, the 19th, if you were to actually multiply that by 10, they'd be up, wouldn't they? But there's sort of a monthly curve that happens to it.
Right, there's an ebb and flow. We typically, there's spurts throughout the year. It seems like the summertime, crime is up and crime is good in that respect, because more people are out and about and moving and whatnot. We can always tell at the beginning of the school year when school is in sessions locally and from the college level as well. So I mean, this is just to try to give you a snapshot and a running average of, just so we can try to stay on top of things.
Has your staff been able to keep up with new cases?
Well, it's been a little bit difficult. I realize everybody kind of keeps numbers a little bit differently, but I did get some information from the court, and the actual, a few of the major crimes areas had gone up with the court administration from a little over 1,000 to a little over 1,300. So that's a nice little increase, and so the long and short of it is we're doing the best we can. But I will be asking for additional staff, primarily from the legal assistant standpoint, is where we need to have the most pressing need at this point in time.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Pat?
Good.
Thank you,
Thank you, Pat, for that
Thank you,
report.
Pat.
Thanks for your work, appreciate it.
All right, we ain't quite at 9:35, but we'll bring the Public Works. Al?
Good morning, folks.
Morning,
Morning,
Al.
Al.
Morning, Al.
We're greeted by
Morning, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
light snowfall overnight, the world turned white.
Morning, Ryan.
Morning.
Momentarily.
Yeah.
I would like to report too that, our park reservation system, our parks accountant has retired, a new one isn't on board yet, so we were a little nervous about this. But Dee came in and did some training yesterday, and the, park system came up and running, and it worked flawlessly. The reservations were just rolling in like,
that right?
like this.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, thank God this isn't another Minnesota healthcare thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that gave Josh the meaning, I mean, jumping in as park,
Yeah.
you know, the
Yeah.
supervisor, I'm sure all of a sudden this is, you know, like, oh my gosh.
So it's very rewarding to see that operate, well. The only problem we have at times is with the password reset, and people aren't comfortable with going through the password reset process, but with some help from our IT people, that works also.
That saves a lot of phone calls,
People love it.
several hundred.
Yes. It saves a lot of staff time, and it's very nice for the public. It shows how popular our parks are too, when you have people lined up, ready for that 8 o'clock reservation system to open.
Yeah.
So, a number of items this morning. First one on the agenda, the Rapidan Dam safety improvements. We were fortunate, through the help of our legislators, to get a Minnesota DNR dam safety grant of $2.4 million. And with our legislators' efforts, it's 100% grant rather than a 50-50 match, which is typical for that program. There's two items here. There's a resolution authorizing the county engineer to execute the agreement. There's also a copy of the full agreement. There's two things I'd like to point your attention to on the agreement itself. One is the grantee's duties, which spells out what items we can use the grant for. Safety improvements to the Rapidan Dam, including spillway capacity, increasing dam stability, repairing downstream apron, repairing downstream bank protection, and then other safety improvements which may be identified in county, state, or FERC engineering studies, which gives us a little opening there in case we discover some things that we weren't aware of. There is one correction to the agreement that was in your packet. It should be
Yeah.
2.4 million rather than 2,410,000. So I strongly recommend that we proceed with the resolution and with authorizing the execution of this grant agreement.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Got a first and a second, any discussion?
I think the 2010 was just the request we had in, and then they granted 2.4, didn't they?
Right, the legislation that came through the House and through the Senate was 2,410,000. The actual bonding bill that provided the funds got rounded out to 2,400,000.
They usually round them out.
Yeah,
So.
what's 10,000, huh?
Peanuts to
The
them.
2.4 million would be nice for the
Yeah.
improvements.
It would be nice, it'd be wonderful.
Nice to get that taken care of.
It will. The next steps here, when this agreement is executed, we'll be able to use those funds for the actual engineering plans and specifications. When those are done, we can advertise, take a construction contract.
And just for the public's welfare too, we've had workshops in the past about that dam, and, there's been thoughts about having it taken out. And I think it was 4 years ago, the estimates were over 30 million, was it? Was it
20 to 40 million, yes. and
somewhere between there?
With a great deal of unknown because of the environmental requirements.
the
of
impact.
the dam.
So it'd most likely be a lot more than that.
I think it would be now, today,
Yeah.
especially.
Probably.
So we're maintaining it, and you're getting electricity out of it, and...
Yes.
Yeah, it's a fish barrier.
So, yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
It's just a fish barrier.
No self-respecting
Especially going up to
Asian
your
carp.
house.
Well,
No Asian carp
especially-
is gonna jump over that.
Especially since the last, I think it was last week, there was a picture of a large carp.
Oh,
found.
huge.
Mm.
And it's like, they won't be getting up the Blue Earth.
That's true.
All right, I have a motion and a second, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries.
A carp that could leap 70 feet would be truly an awesome creature.
We just have to make sure that nobody drops some minnows that have that in there.
Yeah.
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 That's how they get in there to start with.
The next two items actually relate to the city of Mankato, and Pat Henches, city manager, and Paul Vogel, their planning director, are here as a resource, and
Welcome.
Welcome.
and it's truly been a pleasure collaborating with them, partnering with them on both of these items. One is application for Minnesota DNR Outdoor Recreation Grant for $100,000 for the Guaranteed Sand and Gravel and Sanger pits. It doesn't bind us to proceeding with that, but it does certainly provide $100,000, which would make it much more palatable for both the city and the county. So I would highly recommend that we proceed with the grant application. It's quite an extensive document, and some interesting drawings have been prepared to show what could be done if it were acquired as a park. We've discussed it in past meetings. I don't know if you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Are there any, is there any language specifically that's in this agreement for the grant that ties our hands in some way to, or gives us a directive that we have to follow?
I
You're
think
aware of it?
we're basically committed to outdoor recreation, conservation, not a highly developed,
Okay.
active use kind of park.
Okay.
I don't know, Paul, if you want to add anything to that?
Come join us.
Please.
Mr. Vogel.
We're a friendly bunch up here.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the grant application itself doesn't require, doesn't bind the county to anything. It's when the grant application, if it's approved, the grant agreement, I believe there is a provision that you have to at least put a parking area in within, I believe it's a year after acquisition, and then proceed with development within 3 years. And the draft plan that we have so far is basically utilizing the existing trail system that's there. There will be some fill areas where the gravel area is, where the processing plant was done or was located, and both our engineering and the county has indicated that there'll be available fill for that area, and that would be planted to seed mix. And in fact, we have gotten a letter of support from the regional DNR office, in which they basically reiterate what they informed the board several months ago, that they'd be very interested in partnering with the county and the city for that accessible boat launch, handicap accessible boat launch, in addition to a fishing pier, and then examining the fisheries potential for the ponds. We did undertake a bathymetric survey of the ponds, which is basically mapping the depths, and supplied that to the DNR. They were very pleased to see that the depths went down to about 25 feet on average, which indicates that it would be a good candidate for fisheries. They did also supply us some recent information on another fishery north of Mankato at St. Peter at the what they call the trout ponds. Said that's a very popular activity with the residents up in that area, and they would expect that would be similarly with this property as well. If you've been driving by at least the Sanger Pit the past 2 months, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of ice fishing already occurring, at least on that
Bigger deal than
property.
Lake Washington now.
So, I hope that answers your question.
You know, in the county park system, it would be more in the model of the Indian Lake Conservation Area with non-motorized use trails with the addition of some fishing and kayak canoe access.
And even some of the preliminary designs we looked at, reducing maintenance costs or maintenance activities during the winter months, for example, moving the gate out towards Highway 66 or now County Road 1, I understand, providing a gravel parking area out towards the road that then would alleviate any maintenance, plowing the long road back into the park. So if people wanted to access the park during the winter, they could certainly do that by parking out towards the roadway and then using the trail system to access back further into the guaranteed property. But that's obviously up to the approval of the board, how to manage that wintertime use.
We still have considerable work ahead of us. If this grant is approved, that gives us some funds to work with, $100,000 towards the approximately $225,000 cost. But we still need to work with the city of Mankato and discuss issues of who actually has title to it, owns it, who will operate and maintain it.
Yeah,
So that would be all ahead of us. We
We
aren't
haven't had
binding
enough-
ourselves to any of that at this point.
I know we haven't had like a work session specifically geared towards that yet, and so I know there's different, varying views a little bit up here.
Yeah.
I know that some talk was once thrown out that, well, maybe the city should own the Sanger side of 90, County Road 90, and the county own the park, and then let's just do the whole thing as a joint venture, and so those things haven't been ironed out, and that's why I was just asking about the money, how, obviously it's something that can be shared, but I just didn't know, if it tied us to some sort of an agreement.
Not at this point, not with the application. In fact, we're having putting on to the council agenda, I believe, for March 14th, a resolution supporting your grant application.
Okay. I wanted to say too, I appreciate the due diligence that the city has done, to look at the water and the land and the issues around there, so.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the grant?
So moved.
Or application for the grant. Got a first and a second, any other discussion, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
There you go, Mr. Vogel.
Thanks, Paul.
The next
Thanks,
one's
you guys.
the city too, though.
Keep working. Yeah, it's
Yes, the next one is a city item also, if they want to stick around.
They
for
might
that.
wanna stay up here.
That's the engineering part.
Oh, gosh. Okay, the next one is a cooperative agreement with the city of Mankato for pavement preservation and some enhancements to County 8, which is Monks, from Stadium South to the South City limits, and for 16, oh, I'm sorry, that's an error there, that should be 60,
60,
Yeah.
and 60, Stadium Road, from where the roundabout ended down to Stolzman. So those are both county highways. They're under the jurisdiction of Blue Earth County. The projects that we've developed working with the city would mill out some of the old pavement, place new pavement, which is badly needed, would replace some curb and gutter sections, bring the curb ramps up to ADA standards. Those are county highway transportation functions. But the city would also like to do some urban amenity enhancements by providing continuous street lighting, make some repairs, limited repairs to their water and sewer, and some limited work on the sidewalks and trails. So it made sense for us to fold this all into one design and one contract, which required cooperative agreement. And there was a draft agreement in your packet. I've recently received a final agreement that has more numbers in it.
Quick question, Al, is that goes out to the first intersection then? Just south of town, is that where, it goes out?
Actually,
How far out are
it
you
goes
talking?
south on Monks
Mhm.
from Stadium to the city limits, and then the curb and gutter goes a little further than that.
Does it go all the way to the intersection, that first intersection, that county road or not?
No,
It doesn't go that far?
no, it goes, let me proceed here.
Sorry.
Let me
Forgive
take my
me.
picture.
Forgive me.
It goes from Stadium Road south to the city limits,
Mhm.
curb and gutter, and then it goes beyond that to where the curb and gutter ends. So part of that is outside the city limits. We'd be paying for all of that, that's considered in these calculations.
Okay.
The reason we're going that extra distance is because the overlay we did a couple years ago started at that point where the curb and gutter ends and went south.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there is a piece that's 100% county work there.
That's what I thought.
That they're adding to the contract, just because it makes sense here.
Oh.
You all have the final? The final is essentially the same as the draft, except it's got the last pages added to it with the numbers. And if you look at preliminary schedule I, City of Mankato, preliminary February 25th, 2016, county cost participation. Okay, that summarizes the county's cost, and as I say, that's for the road and the curb and gutter costs, including some contingency and including a standard engineering rate, $2,140,000. And then below that are the city's costs, total amount of $701,000 for the urban amenities enhancements I was referring to. Now the agreement says that when the plans are done, the county would have to review and approve them, and county state aid highway system, MnDOT state aid highway system would have to review and approve them, so that we have the flexibility of using state aid on our portion of the cost. That also provides us a way to review all the work and make sure that we agree that these things are all necessary and appropriate. And we just got the plans a couple days ago, so we're in the process of doing that. The cost may come in lower than this, depending on the bituminous bids. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. Some counties have gotten some very low bids compared to last year. So, cost-wise, I think the risk is on the low side rather than the high side with this. But in any case, it's a good project. It makes sense. It helps preserve, maintain our county highway system, and it also works with Mankato to get these other improvements done.
Well, I know it's a busy road. It's a busy road.
They both
A
are,
lot of
yes.
traffic. Is that usual and customary, the cost approximately
Yes.
per foot or whatever we've got on here is
For
pretty
urban-
standard?
For urban work, yes.
Okay.
Chair?
Yes,
Move
sir.
to approve.
I got a first, do I have a second? First and a second, any other discussion, questions? Hearing and
Just
seeing none?
just
Oh,
that
go
the
ahead.
city, it's a good thing, and I think overall, and that I've had people talk about the lighting there
Yeah.
being real bad for years, the college kids and stuff,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a good thing.
The specs will address your earlier concern about the schedule, that be done
Yeah.
exterior to the MSU class lines and the Vikings camp.
Yeah, well, that's always a challenge to,
It is.
city knows what that's like too, so.
You can try, but you can't always be absolutely
Yeah.
sure that'll work that way.
This just goes to show, I mean, the cooperation between the county and city continues. And, we do so many cooperative-y things between the two major, local governments. And this is just one of them, and, it's a good deal.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat and Paul,
Thank you,
for joining
Pat.
us.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, guys.
Okay, one other action item, and that's the purchase of a tandem truck. This would be the additional truck for the Good Thunder shop with the county's takeover of Highway 66. You had an email February 24th after the bids were open for the bid summary. Here's a little more information on the detail. And as you know, our process is to release the bid totals when the bids are opened, but to keep the details until the contract is awarded. Had good competition. It's an addition to the fleet, so there's no trade-in. Received a bid for an international truck, Freightliner, Mack, and Peterbilt is a new bid for us. Must be a new bid for them too, because they didn't do the bidding process properly.
Yeah.
What didn't they do properly?
They didn't provide a bid bond, which is required. And then they had an error in their bid in that they only had the truck. They didn't include the box
Oh.
and the plow equipment.
Yeah, that would make for a few $1,000s, wouldn't it?
Must've been somebody new on the bidding process or something.
In fact, the chassis was $127,000. If they'd had an opportunity to correct their bid, if they bid properly, it would have been $179,000, $180,000.
All right.
So even though the bid was rejected, if they had had a chance to correct their bid, it would have been the highest bid.
They cost a lot more though, Peterbilts. That's the Cadillac anyway, so it's okay, guys.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the bid?
Low bid Westman Freightliner.
Westman Freightliner.
So moved.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Discussion.
I have a question, Al. Did you say that this is a brand-new truck in addition then to the fleet? It's not.
Right.
And this is gonna be for south of Good Thunder then, number one,
It'll be
or for,
to allow us to have the same level of service the state did on Old Highway 66.
okay.
You know, we're adding mileage there, and the public concern was that we won't be able to take as good a care of it as the state was taking. And they were right. You know, our fleet is much more
Okay.
sparse than that. This truck and another driver authorized by the 2016 budget will allow us to take better care of that road and then some other roads also.
Yeah, because they're already gone then, the state plowing and everything is gone from,
Their maintenance runs through June of this year.
through June of this year.
They plowed
this one-
today.
Yep.
So technically, then
State
this one will
did.
go into effect sometime after June, or be utilized if we need it in the fall or in the winter or whatever.
Actually, it takes us
Yeah, it's
a
gonna
number of
be
months
here.
to get the truck.
Be lucky to get it before the first snowfall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's very slow delivery.
Will the road be open?
The road
next fall?
will be under, and we'll be hitting that soon, but the road will be under construction from Good Thunder, well, number one, from Highway 30 to Good Thunder. The grading is done. We'll do cold-in-place recycling,
Yeah.
new pavement this summer with a contract.
Okay.
And then with another contract, we'll be doing the grading from Good Thunder up to County 9 and paving it this summer.
Oh, okay, so it'll be open then in the winter?
In the winter, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For use, okay. I was just making sure you weren't afraid we weren't gonna buy a truck for.
No, there'll be something for it to drive on.
I was impressed with the bids on here that, you know, the other three bids were very, very close. You know, I mean, Freightliner, won the bid, but, you know, when you're talking winning it by just a few $1,000s for a truck that's $160,000,
Yeah.
that's impressive that it's that close, so they must be pretty tight and, you know.
It's an excellent value too, when you look at a new four-door big pickup, it's like $50,000. And you look at one of these tandem trucks,
Yeah.
and what you're getting,
There's a lot
with
more
the
there.
box, the hoist, the snow plowing equipment, that's a heck of a good price. It's a
Yeah.
good value.
Mhm.
There's more than 3 times a Ford pickup there.
You got any particular model, or make that we a lower bid on? You know, I'm
That we
just
like
kinda curious.
using even.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, is it usually like, I don't know, if necessarily always Westman, but I mean, is it like a Freightliner, or is there, I should look at, I'm just curious what we have mostly in our fleet.
Right now, we have Internationals, Freightliners, Max, and a couple of Sterlings.
So you kinda have a little of
Got a
each
little
there,
everything.
yeah, okay.
They're all good equipment.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're, you know, they're
I was curious.
Allison transmission
Yep.
and
Yep.
Cummins or a Cat engine. They put the pieces together, and then the body
Yep.
is the International or the Mack or whatever.
Right, I know, that's the, almost the smaller part.
Yeah, yeah. Axles.
Yep.
So,
Then
All right,
they're-
I got a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, just running through our projects, and I think we just hit a couple of them actually.
Oh, sorry, let me pass
They
this
finished the
on.
tree clearing for the long-eared bat on County 1 from Good Thunder North. We got our plans approved. We're buying the last few pieces of right-of-way. Excel is down there relocating some of the poles out of the way. We hope to advertise in April and get a contract out in May. The 147 bridge is under construction. And I think your packet included a couple of photos.
Mm-hmm.
This is the form-lined concrete that will resemble limestone. I'll pass these around. The last several photos are from Art Sidner, a real professional photographer down there, actually, taking great interest in it.
Will they dye that too, like they did the other
Yes.
abutment? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
after it's done and the weather warms up.
Yeah, interesting.
It'll look very nice. So that's proceeding. It has been slow because of the unusual amount of snow melt we've had and rain we've had and the high river stages, but they are making progress.
The river's really high right now, isn't it?
Yeah. It's flooded out their cofferdam work a couple times, actually, is the problem. So I mentioned the one south of Good Thunder will be paved this summer, the awarding in May. The 12 project, we're buying right-of-way, completing design, coordinating the roundabout at 83 with MnDOT, coordinating the traffic management plan with MnDOT for the detour associated with that roundabout construction and how it impacts their 22 project and our future 66 project. We talked about the Mankato 8 and 60 in Mankato projects. County 14 from 4 to 30. We're mapping, Gene is working on the design currently. We'll be getting additional mapping through area photography. Bituminous maintenance contract, we're getting those plans together to advertise in April, open bids in May. And here again, we're anticipating lower prices, and if that is the case and we have funds available, we'd like to have a second bituminous overlay contract later this year. And with that, we're looking at the Mankato shop driving parking area. Some of it's in very poor condition. It's block cracking and alligating, really needs to be worked on. And then our bridges, we're hoping the legislature will authorize bridge bonds to help us with our bridge in County 52 and the 3 decks on 5. 5 would be done after the 169 detour is over, so that we aren't competing with the Highway 22 traffic there. And then 3 boxes in County Road 111, 144, and another one on 144. A planning item, the Area Transportation Partnership will be considering federal funds for the year 2020. And I think it's quite likely that we will get $1 million for the County 41 bridge over the LeSueur River, federal funds, and $1.35 million for County 12 from 17 to 83 for the year 2020. Our plan has been to build that piece of road in 2017. We would have the option of advance funding for 3 years and then getting paid back in 2020. So, we're just finishing up our draft 5-year plan, including the sales tax and including this additional money, federal money from the ATP. We'd like to present that in a workshop later this month.
That 5-year, excuse me,
5
or
year.
7-year?
Says
Okay,
7
you had 7
That's
years,
5.
5?
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Is it 7-year?
No, it's
No,
5.
it's
5.
5 years.
This
That's
is one of my
typo.
questions I had.
This is a typo.
I could blame it on the typist, but that won't help because it was me.
Yeah.
Is that on the 16 or 62? Is
Yeah,
that
it
you too?
is. It is. At the County 17 and Hafner Drive intersection, traffic control alternatives, that study's done. That would be a good discussion item. And then we've gone back through Highway Department policies and practices for the last 30-plus years and compiled all of those into a set that we followed over the years. And I thought with the transition here, it would be good to lay those out. And I don't think we have to go through them one by one, but you'd have a chance in advance to review them, and if there are things you don't think are appropriate, why, now would be a good time to update them. They're all practical, operating, decision-helping kind of things.
Sure.
Okay,
I'm
good.
happy to see that, that you have the Hafner Drive intersection on there. I would love to see, since the roundabout opened, how many accidents have happened at that intersection. I know there's been a lot.
At
I've run
22?
across, no, at Hafner
Oh.
and County Road 17.
Right.
It's a scary, scary intersection. And, we certainly need to do something to protect the, people in this area, because somebody's gonna get killed there.
Our report has, traffic accident crash information for that intersection and what it would typically be for an intersection of that type, to compare those. Yep.
Right.
That'll be good to see, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Al, on the board?
No, sounds
Anything
good.
else to add, Al?
No, but just thank you very much. It's been a very productive, helpful session here.
Yeah, got a lot of stuff done. Thanks for coming, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. and
And
Al.
Al, you
Gentlemen.
were gonna are you gonna make the 169 meeting on the
Yes.
10th?
Yes.
Oh, that's right, you're gonna come to the ledge and then go there and then come back, okay.
And
And
I'll go to
then,
the,
and then
breakfast
the March 24th, the legislative deal for 169, I appreciate that, thank you.
I shall do that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
All right, we'll go back up to Government Center Window Bid Award. Tim?
Hi, Tim.
Hey, Tim.
Morning, Tim.
Morning, Tim.
Apologize. Kind of
We
playing
didn't mean
catch up
to-
from vacation.
Oh, yeah, we didn't wanna wake,
Justice Center.
we didn't wanna wake you up or anything.
Yeah.
You're good
It's been a
staff,
long day,
you're
right?
just,
Oh,
you're
man.
just taking care of us, and that we understand, so thank you very much.
No problem there. We did have bid opening, back on, back in early.
January 14th?
January 14th, yes. Thank you, sir. And for the window bids over at the Government Center. We had a little more design than just the windows there. If you're familiar with the Government Center, there's columns along the windows side as well. We looked in boxing them columns in a little bit, so where there's not a window behind the column. And then we'll put a metal panel, and I have some conceptual drawings if you wanna take a look at them as well. Showing kind of where the metal panels would be, where the columns are, and then we'd replace the windows throughout the facility as well. We received four bids for the window project as well. The low bid coming in from Brennan Construction at $491,000. And everybody else was roughly in the ballpark. There's the 558, as you can see, 574, and 684.
Is that in the ballpark, 684?
Goodrich was a little high this time. They did the courthouse project, and I was hoping and they did a really nice job here, so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they.
And, numbers came in, we had, budgeted, $500,000 for the project, so kinda came in under budget. Hopefully we don't
Little
find
bit.
any other issues with the window project when we're doing it as well, but, we would be replacing the ledge all alongside the windows inside there as well, with metal panels, like I mentioned, and all new, double bay windows there as well, so.
That's what I was gonna ask you about. Do you know anything about the company that makes the windows? I know this is the bid for the construction company, their bid, but just wondering if you know any differences in the quality of the windows. I mean, if that's considered when you're looking at these bids and
Yeah, we actually met
historical.
with Brennan Construction regarding their subs as well. And they gave us all the documentation of projects that they had done in the past. We did some research on them as well, and everything that we've seen with the metal panels as well, and with the window glass as well, came back real good, so.
Okay.
And pretty much the same glass company that really did
Just
the.
supplying it for all the bids, probably.
Yeah, yep, they're same company on the glass project, they supply that, it's just the framing, the metal panels and stuff like that, that was a little different.
And then you have to look at, I think, did they ask you what level of reflectivity you wanted and that sort of thing too? I mean, don't they?
Yeah, that
ask
was
you?
part of that in the bid spec itself, so they're not really, they're not a real dark tint or some of them like, the Profinium building, they have the blue tinting on it. We
Yeah.
just kinda went with the regular glass for the most part with a little tint in it, so the sun doesn't just blast right through there, so.
Good, yeah.
But, my recommendation, I guess, would be, to accept the bid from Brennan. And, the project we're looking at probably starting, with everything ordered, we're looking at probably, probably starting May, the way we're looking right now. And gonna late May, and then hopefully, completion around that October timeframe. There's a lot.
Good job.
Yeah, there's a lot more windows in that building than you'd expect.
How
but-
many are there, do you know?
I did not get a count on them,
Yeah,
but,
no, that's a lot.
we kinda went around and went, okay, yep. There's a small window here where that's the metal panels going, and then we're cutting out some of the windows as well, but I think it will clean it up a little better, and we're also doing the front, overhang of that building as well, just kinda wrapping the steel posts that are there, holding that up right now, we'll wrap that with metal, kinda cleaning that up, clean up the front end of that a little bit, so.
So Tim, when you say you're cutting some windows out, you're altogether, the window would be gone and then you're,
Correct, that's where the
You put-
metal panel would
the
be.
metal panel
We'll
would be,
sheet rocking around the column.
okay.
And we'll be cutting, the column itself, you'll see, it'll be like more of a half of the column, cause we'll butt into the column from the inside.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then, sheet rock around that, and then the metal panel with insulation would be behind that as well.
Okay.
So-
And these windows are rated some energy efficiency, I would hope, and better than what they had there before.
Yes, yep, and we've had issues over there before with the windows, so that's kind of one of the bigger issues that we're wanna replace.
Should be energy savings then, maybe.
Yes, that's the goal.
Yeah, over
Yep,
time.
save some, I mean, with the window replacement here, we've noticed, sufficient savings as well. And some of the windows here, once again, we had frost buildup on the inside of them in the past, and we don't have that anymore as well, so.
Okay, yeah.
Very good improvement here as well, so.
Good.
I'm looking for the same there as at the government center.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the Brennan Construction for $491,000?
So moved.
Second.
Got a first and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
All right?
Go buy some windows, Tim.
Yeah.
I will do that. I'll give them the go-ahead. and
Put them in ours, is that it?
We'll get rolling on her. Thank you,
Thanks, Tim.
apologize for being late.
No problem.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
By the looks of my agenda, I think we've
Got her all?
got everything on this.
We're done.
Anything else to add, Josh?
Nothing
Tomorrow?
further, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Tomorrow, we're not having a department head meeting, correct?
That is correct, that
So
is
that's
been
canceled.
for tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, got a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thanks everybody for your time.